Let's talk about Ireland's squad for the November series. A November series which is going to see some absolutely epic games. But a couple of the standout ones do involve those men in green. In Dublin, they're going to be welcoming the world champion Springboks to town. That's going to be huge. And before then, and one of the games to get it all going, is that game in Chicago being dubbed the rematch. I am going to be there for that game and I am buzzing for it. New Zealand travelling to Chicago, Ireland travelling to Chicago, and that is going to be a heck of a game. So this Ireland squad is very, very important, very consequential, and so here are my thoughts. Now that Andy Farrell has named his squad, if you're thinking, Tim, where are you? Yeah, I am in a bit of a different location at the moment because basically just up the road from where I live in Manchester, there's a brand new Sports Direct store in Liverpool, and they've basically said it's not open to the public yet. Do you want to come and have a little look around? So it's a bit like being a kid in a toy shop before Christmas, because yeah, look there's nobody else around, just a few members of staff, but there's a gym up there with like a high rock centre and stuff, but yeah, on this video anyway, I am in like the rugby section. There are some rugby boots, not as many as the football boots, but some decent ones. And look, Andrew Porter, appropriately enough, he'll be pulling on the green of Ireland, won't you, Andy? But who won't be? Who will be? Let's talk about the squad. And the big news, I think, from an Ireland perspective, no Geordie Barrett. What's going on? I thought this kid looked awesome. This young lad from Meath in Ireland. I thought he was a shoo-in, but he's just been overlooked. He's had his contract ripped up by Leinster. They don't think he can cut the mustard. Ireland obviously don't think that either. So there you go. No Geordie Barrett. Actually, do you know what I've got to say? I am very, very much appreciating the timing of this squad announcement from Andy Farrell just before Leinster play Munster. I think that's a really nice touch because it just, I mean, if you're a Munster fan and if you're maybe one or two of the Munster players, you might be thinking, oh, here we go again, loads more boys that play in blue. I think for the most part, it's the best players in their position. But that feeling of injustice might just fuel a couple of those Munster lads. Gavin Coombs, for example, this weekend, he is going to be fired up, isn't he? Caelan Doris back in. That might be the reason why there is no Gavin Coombs. And Caelan Doris back in, that is big news for Ireland. Hopefully he's going to be fit and well and playing soon. But this is a first Ireland squad with no Conor Murray, with no Peter O'Mahony. And how can they get on? I've just found the little rugby section here. There's some British and Irish Lions stash. There's quite a few British and Irish Lions in the Ireland squad. New Zealand, who they're going to be facing. No Ireland jersey. I can't see an actual Ireland shirt. There's lots of England stash. Nice stash as well. Quite like that hoodie. But no. Anyway, do you know what? I'm going to go and sit down. I'm going to sit down again. Yeah, so Doris back. That's cool. Injuries to Hugo Keenan, Joe McCarthy, Calvin Nash, Cormac Izuchukwu. So none of those guys are in the squad for that reason. There are a few lads that are being taken with the squad, kind of almost like getting a bit of experience, not officially part of the squad, but they will be travelling to Chicago. That's Shane Bolton, who got his debut against Portugal. You've got Edwin Idogbo, the Munster lock, who needs to just play a bit of rugby, to be honest, because he's got massive promise, but he just hasn't played a lot of rugby. Brian Gleeson as well, that might be a bit of a surprise, but he's quite cool. They're going to Chicago. They're very unlikely to play. So, yeah, what do you make of the squad? I think Andy Farrell always gets criticised for being quite safe and conservative. You could argue that and flip it round as a positive and say he's always very, very consistent. He puts his faith in his players. He knows the guys that he wants and he likes and the jobs that they do. At some point, you do have to evolve and kind of turn over your squad. That's happened naturally because of people like Peter O'Mahony and Conor Murray. But then you look at some of the positions where there's maybe the age profile doesn't look as good as others. And you wonder whether come the next World Cup, if they don't start turning the soil over just a little bit and getting caps into guys that they think could be there in 2027, then they might end up in the same situation they were in at the last World Cup when they played Johnny Sexton for probably 20 minutes longer than he should have played in that quarter-final against New Zealand when he looked out on his feet, but Jack Crowley hadn't been given the game time by that point to be the main man in that scenario. So I can understand the concern that Ireland might be not learning from the mistakes of the past. I do think it is a virtue and a positive, however, that Andy Farrell is generally very consistent and very calm and measured in his selections. That's just the way he goes. Going through the squad, interesting that Finlay Bealham is the only non-Leinster front rower. That's pretty wild when you think about it. I mean, for one thing, who are Leinster going to actually pick when there are the games that happen in the URC over that period? It's like Rabba, Slimani and some kids from the academy. Mind you, if there's one side that can cope with loads of people away, given the youth development talent they've got, it's Leinster. So that's just a little side plot. Michael Milne, is he injured? Is he injured? Because I really, really like the look of him. I thought he would have been in, but it's Paddy McCarthy that is in at loosehead prop, and there are some really, really good noises being made about him. I'd say the biggest surprise, no Jimmy O'Brien. I thought with Hugo Keenan being out, he would be in, and there was a lot of people have been saying, you know, with the prospect of no Hugo Keenan for the November test, that Jimmy O'Brien could end up with a starting spot. There's no Jimmy O'Brien, so who will be the starting 15? Those are the interesting questions. 10 and 15. The 10 one's not going to go away, is it? The Crowley v Prendergast. It was once upon a time Crowley, Prendergast, Frawley, but Crowley, Prendergast it is there. And at 15, who's it going to be? Jamie Osborne, presumably. Could be Kieran Frawley. Could Mac Hansen be shuffled in there? We'll see. Cowlin Blade being third choice scrum half. Is that a position where they need to start turning the soil over a little bit? Yes, Craig Casey will come through and take over from Jamison Gibson Park, but who's next? At the moment, Cowlin Blade, but you think he could even be second or third choice for Connacht before long. Nathan Doak, Murphy, Finton Gunn. Centre is another one. It's sort of an ageing age profile there, and you've got guys like James Hume. I've always thought James Hume was going to come through and get a spot. There's obviously something that he's not doing. And, you know, Andy Farrell's forgotten about more in rugby than I'll ever know, so I'll trust his judgment on that one. But I like James Hume. And who's the other centre? Jude Postlethwaite as well. He looks like he could be an heir to the throne of one of these guys that are well into their 30s now. We'll see. As for the sixth position, you'd think Jack Conan's probably going to get that spot. But Ryan Baird, Cian Prendergast, Thomas Ahern is in as well. So there's quite a lot of questions, but it is very settled, and I think it's fairly easy to kind of guess what the Ireland team might be for that game against New Zealand. And if I were guessing it now, I would say it's going to be Portashee and Furlong. I mean, obviously. James Ryan and Tyg Byrne, without Joe McCarthy due to injury. Josh van der Fleer 7. Caelan Doris 8, if fit and enough game in his legs. If not, then Conan will be 8. And, well, who would be 6 then? Ryan Baird, I guess. But otherwise, if everyone's fit and firing, then Conan 6, Van der Fleer 7, Doris 8. Backline, Jamison Gibson Park, I'll come back to 10. Bundy Aki, Gary Ringrose. Hansen and Lowe on the wings. Jamie Osborne would be my guess at fullback. Fly half, I would go for Jack Crowley. But it's why this game this weekend, Munster-Leinster, just before the November series, the two guys going head to head is so interesting. Bring it on. Inject that matchup into my veins. And then on the bench, Ronan Kelleher, Jack Boyle, Finlay Bealham, Ryan Baird, Nick Timoney. Nick Timoney, maybe is it his time? He can play right across the back row. I like him. He's a really, really good rugby player. Craig Casey, and then it could be Prendergast and Henshaw. It could be Henshaw and Frawley. In fact, that might be the way I'd go. If I was going to pick Crowley to start, I'd pick Henshaw and Frawley. Although there is obviously the thought that Crowley could step across to 12. So maybe Prendergast goes on the bench. Yeah, I don't know. Either or with that one. Sort of 21 of the names I'm pretty confident you could pick. Which I think's not a bad place for Ireland to be. With a lot of the talk of, you know, Andy Farrell being too conservative and too much of a worry, I don't think that's a really bad place to be. So there you go. I'm going to go and have a little nosy around. Understandably, we're in Liverpool, so there is a whole lot of Liverpool and Everton stash. There's a fair bit of rugby stuff as well. And I'll let the last word be from Andrew Porter. Like and subscribe.